Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and with Volume 6 growing ever closer, obviously many of us in the fandom are trying to speculate on what we might see in this latest chapter of the series. What's gonna happen in Atlas? Will we finally get some discussion about Silver Eyes? And of course, will those bumblebees finally learn how to sail a ship? At least I think that's what the fans are talking about. But one element that I'm curious about is in regards to everyone's favourite farmboy, Oscar. The newly revealed poster for Volume 6 has the lad centre stage, and this could signal a big focus on his continuing growth as a fighter and his role in the battle with Salem. He's been making good progress since he left his humble home, but Volume 5 did touch on the future goal of unlocking and mastering his semblance, the next step in the hopeful hero becoming a true defender of the world. And that's the subject for this video. We don't know what unique power Oscar has bottled up within him, but with his key status in the story, and the signs that his development could be ever more vital in the upcoming battles, whatever this power could be has the potential to be something that could turn the tide in ways far bigger than any semblance that we've seen previously. So trying to guess what this power could be is something that I want to try and unravel. However, do keep in mind that this is a theory, and it's just purely speculation. I could very well be wrong, but whether I am or not is all about creating a discussion, and you're more than welcome to share your ideas in the comments down below. Also, be warned that I will touch on spoilery content, so please watch with caution. So let's begin sharing my attempts to picture what could be Oscar Pine's semblance. He's worked with Compost King machinery on his farm, so he must have control over compost. There's my answer. Good night, everybody. Okay, I'm kidding. Just stay right there. I'm only making a joke. I couldn't resist, but I did make that joke for a purpose. To remind folks that there's no real sense in just slapping a random power on Oscar and calling it a day. Semblances have been detailed in-universe and outside of it as often symbolizing a part of who a person is, with ties to their personality or nature being the most highlighted points of connection. For example, Yang's comes from her temper and her strong drive to defend those that she cares about, even at risk to herself, while Weiss's semblance is symbolic for its lineage amongst her family, fitting for someone whose family plays a large part in her personal goals and motivations. So for finding a suitable semblance for someone like Oscar, we need to first look at who he is as a person and what drives him forward in life. By now we've learned that he's a very sincere kid with a good heart, despite being extremely timid even after you get to know him. Yet despite his social weaknesses, he's got his own spark within him that is full of hope and compassion, even towards an enemy, as seen with his attempts to emphasize with Hazel's pain. We also know that the young farm boy didn't start out on the path that most people would take when they would want to become a huntsman. Before Ozpin came into his life and forced him into action, he was just a kid working diligently and happily on the farm, and he seemed very content with it. But Ozpin did bring to light Oscar's inner aspirations of wanting something more than the life of a farmhand, and though he denied it at first, Oscar did admit to it eventually. He's also not adverse to the idea of having to defend himself, as he stated in the past that he's fought off Small Grim a few times to protect his home, and he did willingly choose to risk his life to fend off Hazel, despite his fears and the overwhelming odds weighing against him. Let's be honest though, it's fair to say that he's not a naturally gifted fighter. Even basic combat training seemed to ask a lot of him physically, making his earlier nervous reaction to Ozpin saying that he'll need to strengthen himself seem very well founded. The weight of what he's being tasked with has also taken its toll on the poor kid's psyche, as seen with his outburst towards RWBY, who by comparison can better shoulder her fears and concerns to focus on what needs to be done, and it's through RWBY's support that Oscar was able to steady himself. In short, he's a kind soul who, regardless of his body's limits, his doubts, and his social awkwardness, would go beyond those limits if it means that he can help someone. though he does still need guidance, and he'll openly choose empathy as a first approach before aggression. To me, that clearly paints the picture of someone who wouldn't have a semblance that is actively aiming to cause harm. So any offensive-oriented semblance that he could have that you would categorize alongside, say, Yang's or Adam's, doesn't sit right in my eyes. I also can't imagine him being mentally and physically able to have something that would let him absorb or direct damage too, as his physical and mental durability isn't strong enough to lend itself to such a power. So anything like Nora's electric charge boost or Hazel's pain immunity are also ruled out. Okay, so he won't have a offensive or a defensive power. What can he have then that can still have a major impact in the battle with Salem? Well, the only option then must be something more support focused, like Jean's aura amplification or Raven's portals. Something that can aid someone else without Oscar having to put himself into the crossfire every time to utilize it. So now we've got the general idea of what traits Oscar has that could be utilized for a semblance, and we've gone over what type of semblance someone like him could use. Now it's just a question of nailing down the exact power. And to do so, I followed another element that has been used in the past to create a semblance concept: the character's inspiration. There have been examples in the past where the character's illusion has had a stronger thematic presence in the power's origin than anything more personal, such as Music Man Flint Cole's Killer Quartet clones being based on jazz band quartets, and Sun's clones being linked to the mythical Monkey King's clones that he creates with his hair. Of course, this then leads into another question: what is Oscar's inspiration? This is where the real meat of my speculation lies. See, some fans, myself included, think that Oscar's illusion may be Ozma from the Wizard of Oz series, making Oscar another Wizard of Oz related character that's tied in some way to Ozpin. Ozma is the true ruler of the land of Oz that was hidden away at a young age by the Wizard of Oz so he could become the ruler. Ozma was also transformed into a young man named Tip, and he was sent to live with a witch on her farm, where he would grow up and work at, until events arose that led to Ozma's return and rise into a compassionate ruler who would never resort to violence and was kind to those even beyond her kingdom. Compassionate, against violence, helpful to others, lived on a farm, and has a history with the Wizard of Oz. Sounds just like Oscar, huh? Plus, Ozma considered Dorothy her closest friend, and in the world of RWBY, Ruby Rose is about as close to Dorothy as we're gonna get, and she is forming a solid bond with Oscar too. Ozma was also able to pull off some amazing feats as ruler of Oz, including getting rid of currency to make everyone gain resources equally, making an enemy forget everything, including his plans for revenge against her, as well as sealing away the land of Oz from other realms. She even barred anyone, save for the wizard and Glinda the Good Witch, from using magic. And here at last lies my semblance idea. A lot of these accomplishments share a central theme: taking something away, removing access to something, sealing. Do you see the connection I'm making? That's right, I think Oscar could have the semblance of sealing. Specifically, sealing away someone's aura for good. For all of you fellow Avatar fans, you may be getting a bit of deja vu from this idea, and you would be fair for feeling that way. After all, Aang was another considerate youth burdened with a remarkably important role in the world, whose clash of morals when dealing with the enemy led to his discovery of the means to seal someone's power away. This semblance would pretty much act like the reverse effect of what Pyrrha did to Jean back in Volume 1, trapping away the ability to use aura, and by extension, a semblance. This would then allow Oscar to stop someone getting hurt by the enemy without him having to kill them. as sealing off someone's aura doesn't take away their soul and make them dead, it just makes them a regular human being. There's still the use of dust and weapons, of course, that can still do harm, but you take away someone's aura, and you take away most of their means to fight and defend themselves. The fact it also allows Oscar to avoid killing someone could also tie into Ozpin, as among his tons of mistakes that he claims to have made, some of them may be the many lives lost that he's responsible for in his efforts to stop Salem, or during his time as the last King of Vale who single-handedly stopped the fighting in the Great War. With how much he seems to feel sorry for dragging Oscar into his mess, it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine that he would welcome Oscar never following the same painful road that he's taken, where there's blood on his hands. In conclusion, when looking at the character's possible origins, his personality, and his current feelings, all roads lead me to the prospect of Oscar becoming a merciful, power-sealing defender, without having to discard his pacifist nature, still being able to provide support for his allies, and having the means to stop those who wish him and the world harm when the need arises. Again, I could be very wrong in my theory conjuring, or there may be some semblance of truth to my idea. But regardless of what Oscar is capable of in the end, I'm still looking forward to seeing this young man possibly grow into a great and powerful protector. But what do you guys think about my little semblance theory? Do you think there's some merit in my idea? Or do you have your own ideas for what the farmboy might be able to have up his sleeves? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell buttons to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop, and follow me on Twitter for more on anything RWBY related, as well as updates on future content and more. And until next time though, have a good day or good night, and peace out.